Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah, we're back at it again. It's a little late this week. Shut up.
It's summer.
It's summer. It's been some time. These weeks of late have been weeks, right?
Yeah.
It is.
You know, just existing.
We just saw a thing recently where it was like, this happened 9 days ago, and it felt like 4 months ago, and I felt that all the way down in my soul.
Yeah, just like existing during like USA season 2024.
So many
is like a
unprecedented times.
I would
prefer my time standard amounts of press or dent.
Yeah, like
whichever
I don't know
you
how
prefer.
many episodes we have left until the season finale.
Yeah. I feel like that
this,
season 8 Game of Thrones showrunners are really trying to make America something again.
Yeah.
So
jeez, please.
Yeah, it's a real fucking nightmare out there.
Please stop.
But that's okay. We're back. We're gonna keep doing these, but sometimes there's gonna be little breaks. They're vacations from our faces. You're welcome. But we're back. Don't worry. And if you're listening to us,
Absence does make the heart grow fonder.
Abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. We're sticking with that take.
I don't know where that was coming from. A thing I've literally never practiced.
Yeah, it's fake news. Don't worry about how fake that news is. But anywho, I'm John Norgrove. This is Julie Norgrove. This is the Once Weekly Witchy podcast, the Horn and Cauldron podcast. And today we are talking about Lunasa, or as I will always prefer to say it, Lughnasadh. It's a better way to say it, Lughnasadh. It sounds cooler. Vote below.
I don't necessarily agree. It's just harder to say.
Lughnasadh?
Lughnasadh. Yeah.
I guess maybe it is harder to say. That's news to me, my guy, but rock and roll, whatever, right? Don't let it be said that I'm not a linguist. So, yeah. Anywho, Lughnasadh 104, Lunasa 104. We're talking about constellation magic.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So, before we get into what constellation magic is, the 104 series is where we're taking a kind of elemental magic and talking about how you can bring that into your practice. So we've done ice.
Well, we're associating sabbat blot with an element.
Yes.
That's sort of like within the vein, so as to illuminate the intrinsic connective tissue between like various practices and structures to help expand the manner in which you interact with your blot, sabbat, or seasonality.
And don't come at me saying constellation isn't an element, because I know that.
It's all the elements. Technically, everything that we're made out of is stardust, my dude. So, like, what's up?
Yeah.
Star Child.
So, Lunasa, I chose constellation magic. We chose constellation magic for this because during this time of year, there are actually quite a few meteor showers, and a lot of people are outside because it's hot.
Yeah.
This is going to be the hottest summer, or this will be the coldest summer you will have for the rest of your life. You're welcome.
It's just getting hotter.
Now that you've heard that, you get to think about that on repeat. I saw that meme like 3 years ago for the first time, and I think about it every single summer. So you get to join me in that too now. Anyway, so a lot of people are outside. You're enjoying the outdoors. It's cool, and you're looking up at the stars.
Yeah, in the evening.
In the evening. Or maybe in the daytime.
When the sun has gone away and stopped trying to bake you to death.
Yeah. So Lunasa is also known as Lammas or Freysblot, and that marks the beginning of the 3 harvest festivals. And it typically takes place on August 1st or the nearest weekend. It is about halfway between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox, and in the southern hemisphere, this is usually celebrated on February 1st. So Lunasa celebrates abundance, growth, fertility, solar energy, the harvest, and honoring the dead. It's also associated with holy wells, collecting or creating corn dolls, athletic contests. Hello, 5 rings coming our way.
Right.
I don't want to get popped.
The summer boys stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Scottish games are generally held. At the beginning of September is the big ones that we go to, but like they're held all between like July and September. So right around like beginning August is like right in the dead middle of that.
Lunasa season, yeah.
Yeah, here in California at least.
It's also about baking bread because you got wheat again, visiting markets.
Because you got wheat again.
Yeah, visiting markets or fairs, hiking, and entering into contracts, marriage or otherwise. And this festival is named after the Celtic god Lugh. The word Lunasa comes from the name Lugh and the word Nasad, which means assembly. And Lugh is the god of warriors, craftsmen, the arts, oaths, and leadership. And this is the fourth Lunasa episode we've done. So if you want to learn more about Lunasa, we have Lunasa 101, that's episode 17, that's the basics. Lunasa 102, that's episode 43. And we talk about the Taltean games, which are likely the inspiration for the sabbat, because this is one of the relatively new ones that kind of was more popularized by Gerald Gardner and his ilk back in the late 20th century. Although there is some historical precedent thanks to the Taltean games. And then lastly, Lunasa 103 is episode 60. And that one we talked about fitness magic because of the athletic contests. Yep. So enjoy those. So constellations. Civilizations all around the world have named the stars above them and given them meaning. A constellation is a recognizable grouping of stars associated with myths, animals, or objects. Some constellations rely more on dark clouds shaping them rather than stars, like the Great Rift in the Milky Way. Or the Emu in the Sky, a constellation in the southern hemisphere, which is particularly known for being signified by the Incas. Most of their constellations actually rely on the space in between the stars rather than the stars themselves. It's actually super cool. So definitely check that out. Learn more about
like
that.
Cookie cutter style.
A little bit,
right?
Yeah.
So it's like negative space.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's just regular space, but
Well, it's dark space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Space is mostly negative and darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's why nobody will hear you scream up there.
I don't think that's why.
It's yeah.
Okay, fine. You're the science boy.
Well, probably, yeah.
Well, give me, am I the science person?
No, that's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I did that to me.
I do the research. I don't do the science.
That's fair. I did that to me.
Yeah.
I walked into that.
So there are 88 modern constellations, and they were adopted,
like recognized in Western culture?
Recognized in the world, guy. There is like a whole.
That actually seems like a real small amount. If you had told me there was 88 just in like Western, like European Western culture, I would have been like, yeah, that's probably a lot. But like globally. I don't know. I feel like that number should add several zeros to it.
No. There are
That's
88
crazy.
modern constellations. They were adopted in 1928 by, I didn't write down the...
this is some sort of council of...
There's a council of
This is the
guys.
same assholes who are trying to make Pluto not a planet. Yeah, okay.
Probably.
Good luck, buddies.
Yeah. And technically all of the constellations, each constellation encompasses more than just the stars in that constellation, but they also encompass some of the space around them into borders. Basically, it sort of turns the night sky into a series of states or countries.
Sure.
The other star patterns that appear inside of constellation boundaries aren't formally recognized, like the Pleiades inside of the Taurus constellation, Orion's belt, or the Big Dipper inside.
Yeah, they only
Ursa
recognize
Major.
like Orion, but not like Orion's belt.
Correct.
Well, that's why the number is only 88, because they're being pedantic about it.
Well, yeah, and then some of them overlap, like the Big Dipper and Orion and Pleiades. You could make a case that one would be fine, but there are plenty of others, and those are actually called asterisms.
That's a dope name, though.
It is a pretty cool name.
It's a dope name, but I'm gonna have to fight some scientists about this stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Now, we're not sure, but it appears that humans may have started recognizing and adding lore to constellations 17,000 years ago. And that dates to some cave paintings that were found in Lammas, France, which some scholars believe are the people who lived in those caves putting paintings of the stars up. Some scholars disagree. We don't know, but people are pretty fascinated by the stars, so
Well, they're like right there all the time, my dude. And like, let me tell you,
they look like stuff.
If you are like city folk or even like town folk, and you haven't been out into the like, there's no light for many, many miles tier darkness, like you don't fully grasp the absolute depth of darkness that exists out there that causes so many more stars to be in the sky. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're like when you're on like a highway somewhere like in the middle of America, you're doing like a big long distance drive and you're driving at night and you like it's just darkness as far as the eye can see and you don't have any of that light pollution. The stars are so bright. Yeah. You know, and you can kind of get that image.
And you see so many more of them.
Yeah, there's so many more stars. Like, you can kind of get this if you live in like a place that has only a minimal amount of light pollution. If you set your camera for long exposure, right? And I've done this with both a DSLR and honestly, just my like cell phone, right? You got to get like an app probably or something. I think I used an app before for that, but like long exposure to get like better stars and stuff. And there's like a ton of stars out there, bro. Yeah. It's so obvious why people would be like, that kind of looks like this. You know what I'm saying?
Also, everybody loves connect the dots. Come on.
Yeah.
It's crazy about the star thing. You mentioned like, you know, being out in the middle of nowhere versus being in a big city. I grew up in like a big metro area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there's a lot of light pollution. There was a lot of light pollution, and I could see stars, but like mostly you could only see the like main, I'm gonna call them the main 88, right? You could see like the big ones. I mean, I couldn't see all 88 constellations.
The big five is probably more likely.
You know, I could see like, you know, and there were other stars that you could see, but like not as brightly. Yeah. And then when I was in high school, we moved up to Sonoma County where we are now, and we still lived like in a city, but it wasn't nearly as big, and you could see so many more stars. Totally. And it was super fascinating. It wasn't like I had never seen these stars before, y'all. I had been
never heard of stars before.
I did not know.
Fake news.
I just thought they were light bulbs. You got to change them.
Yeah.
And then when we moved out here to our little forest cabin, there are so many stars overhead. Oh yeah. It is in its own way such a pity that we are surrounded by incredibly tall trees, because we have a very small amount of sky that we can see like directly above the house. Yeah. So we don't get to like experience the
big flat area stargazing that you get when you live out in like flat country.
Yeah.
You know, without like a bunch of big trees around you or whatever the heck. But also we're like a stone's throw from the beach. And like when you're on the coast, so you're only getting light pollution from like one direction, or you're in some of these places that are out on the coast where there's like a very minimal amount of light pollution, right?
Which is the part that we're the closest to.
Yeah. Like that, like there's like dummy stars, bro. The sun is not even down, and you're like, there's a lot of fucking stars out here, my dudes. Like, I don't know about this. So yeah, definitely. If you have the opportunity to go like a star watching, like if your local region has like a group that does a get together or whatever, I highly recommend taking advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, back to history stuff. We do have evidence from about 5,000 years ago that the Sumerians identified and named constellations, and many of these became the zodiac we're familiar with today. And if you want to know more about the zodiac, we talk about it in the astrology episode. It's a lot. Prepare yourself there. But it's a good episode. We will be doing more of those. And also, ancient China categorized the stars, and they divided them much like astrology, but also different than astrology, into mansions. And for the ancient Chinese, they actually had all of their constellations correspond with the moon, as opposed to the zodiac was basically the cycle of the year. So most ancient beliefs begin with primal forces arising out of nothingness, the cosmology of it all. And we often see the sky as a main player in bringing about life on Earth.
Yeah.
And these forces typically become deities with their own place and within their own respective pantheons.
Yeah. Well, or it's like, I mean, it's generally like a very, like, you know, it's sort of that like night and day thing, you know, it's like, oh, this is like whoever, whichever god it is, they're like night sky or whatever,
Yeah.
and then like Mother Earth, and by their powers combined, life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like, there was this great powerful chaos god, and then they like cut his fucking head off, and then the earth is inside of his skull, or
yeah.
something like crazy like that,
Yeah, we also talked about this a bit in the Pontus episode, where we talked about primordial deities, and primordial deities are basically the deification of a particular object, right? So the mountain as a deity, the ocean as a deity, the sky as a deity,
as like an observable structure that's like sort of infinitely in your like scope of stuff. I mean, you got to think, like, if you live in a place where there's like one big mountain in the middle of this place in the distance, and like you can never really venture far outside of being able to see that mountain, then that mountain is like always watching, sort of a thing. So you sort of see where that structure sort of like arises out of, like where lore and legend arise out of, like topography.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Egyptian mythology, Nut was a primordial goddess of the night sky, and she was often depicted as an all-black figure with white or multicolored dots all over her.
Yeah.
And still remained a fairly popular deity in the Egyptian pantheon throughout time. So just because this is a tie to primordial deities does not mean that they were not worshipped,
they were like gotten rid of.
Yeah. In Greek mythology, Uranus is the god of the sky. In Chinese mythology, Tian, which is the oldest concept and word for the sky, was sometimes worshipped. In Thelema, Nuit is not only the personification of the sky, but also of the primal feminine. And that is definitely a call back to Egyptian mythology for Nut. Aleister Crowley was very interested in Egyptian magic and mythology and religion. So you can see the thread there, but they are separate ideas and concepts.
Yeah, concepts.
Yeah. And even in fantasy, in Tolkien's Legendarium, the stars were already in existence when the world was created. And he also created constellations, which are mostly based on our real world constellations. Like Valarica is based on Ursa Major, or why did I choose the dumbest names? Exquilta is Orion's belt. If I said that wrong, sorry. The elves were created in Tolkien's Legendarium even before the sun and moon, and you see the special significance of the nighttime and being under the starry sky in many passages of his stories, particularly when it's the songs. I'm saying quote unquote songs because they're really more like poems. In where they're talking about elven mythology and stories and things like that. There's also a lot of elven names that have L-E-L in them, which means star. So the stars are like a big deal for a lot of people in a lot of places.
The elf.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
That was the only L name I can think of. Unless we're thinking of specifically the Ron Hubbard.
No, we are not thinking about that. It is a different L.
Isn't there an L Ron Hubbard in...
Don't you blaspheme his name!
I'm gonna blaspheme Elrond. Is that Hugo Weaving?
Yes.
He is the most badass, though.
Yeah. How dare you?
That's okay.
How dare you?
Well, who was Lee Pace's character? What was his elf name?
Thranduil.
Oh, there's no L in that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's at the end. Thranduil?
No, ill.
Oh.
It's different.
I tried to give it to you, Lee Pace. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's the most airbrushed elf. No, that's not true.
That's also not true.
No, that's bloody what's her name from the trilogy.
Galadriel.
Yeah, oh my Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, that lady's so blurry, you're not sure that your TV's in 4K no more. They shot her in like 240p, dog.
Yeah, she's so blurry that crazy. She might have been, they might have like used the same editor and visual style as Army of the Dead.
Yeah, right? They're like, put her in deep unfocus. And you're like, that seems like a bold strategy. And they're like,
they're like, but she's the only one on screen. And they're like, do it. Do it. It's misty over there. No, it's not. Stop it. Stop making things unnecessarily blurry or unnecessarily dark, please.
Yeah. That's fine.
Please.
Yeah, we've got the graphics nowadays. We don't need to do that. We've got to hide stuff.
yeah, right? Stop it.
All these hardworking CGI artists building these like beautiful backdrops, and then they're like, "Why don't you take that brightness down like 75%?"
Yeah, guys, like just tell that editor to turn the brightness on their monitor down. It's too high.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing? Everyone is doing this in a dark room while looking at their phone. No one can handle this. Anyway. Okay.
Watching movies in the summertime.
Yeah. Anyway, most constellations have myths associated with them. And this can be a key way to understand that constellation's energy so you can work with it. Of course, there are many names and myths associated with each constellation, so if you have a preference from a particular tradition or region of the world, use that one. Fun fact here, before I talk about some constellations that you might want to work with, I wrote that previous information, a bunch of constellations have myths associated with them. Okay, so yes, that is true completely and totally. Most of them have myths associated with them. However, there is a disturbing amount of constellations that are just equipment. There's the compass and a microscope and a sextant. Okay, those make sense.
Well, microscope feels like non-ancient, but
yeah, there not all of them are ancient.
Sure,
right?
Yeah, of course.
But there's also halves of a boat.
Yeah,
because there used to be a whole boat, and then they were like, what if we split this constellation in half?
What if we did two different boats?
Yeah, and then there's one that's this is a particular tool that you use to tighten the rigging on a boat. And I'm what?
Well, I mean, is this any logically different than cloud looking dog? Right?
No, it's
where you're
not,
sometimes you look at a cloud and you're just look at this majestic dragon breathing moonbeams onto us or whatever the fuck. And then sometimes you look at a cloud and you're like, that's like a real fat dog.
Yeah, but some science yacht guy
or that's just
was
a box.
these constellations have to happen. I was looking at some of these and I was like, I don't even know what that is. I had to Google it. I had to look it up. Okay, anyway. So if you're particularly into boat stuff or microscopes or something else, they may be a thing you want to look at. Well, the boat thing would be
because you have to use the constellations to navigate.
I am aware of that.
So that's why it would be associated
and
with
I understand a lot of the boat-based
shenanigery.
Things for that. Yes, I do not
Microscopes not used for navigation on boats.
No.
Not at all.
No, not
Fake
at all.
news.
Not at all. Only the tiniest of boats.
Yeah.
Or the largest of boats have a microscope.
That's fair. No, I mean, you can put a microscope on a dinghy if you really want to, but why? Right? What kind of science are you doing out there?
If you gave me a rowboat and a microscope, I would do it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for the gram, right?
No, I would do that because I genuinely enjoy looking at stuff under a microscope.
Sure. I mean, there's a good chance they're gonna come back with a black eye.
I mean,
it's gonna be on this boat bonk in the eye, right? Come back in the shore, and they're like, "What happened? Did you get beat up out there?" And you're like, "Don't do science on the ocean."
That sounds more like your problem than mine.
It's fair. That would be my. I'm not gonna fit on this boat. It's a dinghy. It's a tiny boat. You got to row yourself back, dog.
Rowboats are pretty big, dude.
I mean, it depends on the size of the rowboat. You have a small rowboat.
You could have a small rowboat, and then you would need.
Is a paddleboard not just a real small rowboat?
No, it's not. That's a board, and you're holding paddles.
I don't know. It could be a boat.
That's not. I don't think that's a boat.
And if we learned anything from Titanic, you probably can't fit two people on that.
Ooh, that's true though.
Right? Does it look like you can fit two people on that?
Smaller than a door.
Can you fit two people on that door? Absolutely 0%, no chance. One lady barely hanging on to it, that's it.
Yeah. Feet gonna be all pruny.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about these constellations.
Okay, so this is by no means an exhaustive list for obvious reasons, but here are a few constellations that you may want to work with.
That you found interesting enough to list.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So there is in the southern hemisphere the Phoenix constellation. Phoenixes symbolize rebirth and reinvention. Also, I'm calling out southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere here because you can't see all the constellations everywhere for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah. Or all the time, dog.
Unless you're a flat earther and just now learned that the earth is round, in which case, welcome to the modern world.
Yeah. There's so much proof, dude.
We have cookies.
Yeah.
And margaritas.
We do have margaritas. They're great.
Yeah.
You just got a brand new blender. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, I miss margaritas so much. I love margaritas ferociously.
Blended margaritas specifically.
Yeah, oh no. Listen, margarita on the rocks, shit margarita. Shit garita.
Hard disagree.
That's okay. You can be wrong.
Hard disagree.
Everybody, all shaken margarita people, you're wrong.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We were talking about this at work today.
Margaritas only come in 2 varieties: blended and from an icy machine. That's it. It's the only 2 acceptable margaritas.
We had talked about getting an icy machine. A blender was a better choice.
You fucking better.
We were talking about this at work, so because we just got this new Ninja blender, it's amazing. Oh my God, not the one that does the ice cream, just in case you were wondering, because everybody asked me that.
Is there a blender that makes ice cream?
It's not really a blender, but it does make ice cream.
Oh, weird.
And it is by Ninja. We're not sponsored by them. We just bought it because we wanted it.
Yeah.
And
because I read reviews and I was like, I want a blender, but I'm not going to buy one of those cheap blenders that like is going to fail after a little bit of time. A thing that I've done a million times.
Yeah, we've been saving up for this. We've been planning this for a while, and it's like our anniversary. Next month.
Real soon, yeah.
So this is our like anniversary present to ourselves.
Pre-anniversary present.
Yeah, year 8 blender.
Yeah. Yeah, 8 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wild, right?
I know.
So,
fake news.
What? No.
Oh.
So we were talking about this at work, and they were like, so because I made the joke about September, so we decided that didn't work. It has to be Margarita August, yeah.
Marcus, I accept, yeah.
And then we're gonna do Smooth Timber.
Smooth Timber, yeah, smooth with a V.
Smooth Timber.
Smoothies.
Yeah. And then we're gonna do Souptober, because by the time October happens, it's finally cold enough for you to want soup.
I'm still gonna want margaritas.
I mean, that doesn't mean you can't have margaritas. We just got themed months.
Warm garitas.
No.
That sounds gross, yes.
That does sound gross.
That does sound gross.
They did have like warm blended drinks. The recipe book that came with this Ninja.
I'm going to interrupt you right here. If I don't know if all of you out there have experienced this, but at our local fair when I was younger, because I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but they would always have this smoothie booth, this like blender booth that would like heat up soup with the blender, and even as a child, as fantastical and magical as it seemed to watch a blender take cold ingredients and turn them hot, that feels like the most inefficient waste. The pure human hubris of making soup hot with blades is fucking amazing to me. I love it. I want to participate in it for no reason other than because it feels insane. If you're buying a blender, you have a kitchen. And if you have a kitchen, there's a fucking stove in it. Heat it up with a different and better piece of technology. It blows my fucking mind, dude. Absolutely, but I don't care. I love it. It's absolute magic to me. Yeah, no, get stuff hot with blades, right? Absolutely shrike the shit out of that soup. I'm so here for it, my dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but this the recipe booklet, like
that came with
cookbook that it comes with, is like half standard normal stuff that you completely expect, right? And then half just the most bonkers stuff, like the most bonkers
blend up
thing.
Kale and Brussels sprouts. It's gonna taste delicious, and you're like,
I mean, that was some of the things, right?
But
one of them was like, make a pineapple dip, and you were like, I was just like, okay, what's this? So you blend like pineapple and cilantro, and that's it. And it's like a dip.
That's not a dip.
It doesn't say what it's a dip for.
Yeah. Bread?
I don't want to dip bread in that.
Carrots?
I don't want to dip carrots in that.
I mean, bread and pineapple's probably like a pizza. It could be a pizza dip.
Pizza dip. I'll give you pizza dip.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's about as far as I'm going to go.
Unless you're like an anti-pineapple on pizza person. But that's like a lot of weird shit to put your personality into. So
yeah,
good luck with that.
The other,
we're just kicking people out of the club.
Other and most unhinged one was this idea of salad on the go, is what they called it, and it's basically like there's a couple of recipes in this booklet that are like, take all of the ingredients that you would put into a salad, like a Waldorf salad was one of them, and then you put that in the blender with some water, and then you just drink that. Oh. You're not blending the dressing.
That just reminds me of that, like, I don't even know if this is like a thing that's real, but like, you know, when people get like extreme mouth surgery and their like jaw is wired closed, and then like, you know, like you watch like a sitcom from the 90s and they're like, oh, so and so had to get mouth surgery or braces or whatever. So they're like blending up a turkey or whatever.
Yeah,
fuck.
right?
You know, it's like that kind of shit.
It was like that.
Yeah, get out of here with that, guys.
Yeah, I was
I'm not gonna
like,
eat. I'm not gonna
no.
drink a blended chicken Caesar. Get so fucking far away from me right now.
It's so
Oh my
gross.
goodness. Yeah. Not even a little bit. Oh man. Yeah, I bought this blender almost entirely for margaritas. So yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly it. That's mostly it. For me too. I was also excited about soups, but like, you know what? Also, I got a hand blend. I got one of those little stick blenders.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
an immersion blender?
an
Oh
immersion
my god,
blender,
that
yeah.
immersion blender of ours, like of the 5 available power levels, power level 2 will blend your car. It's so fucking powerful, dude. It's like a bit upsetting to work with.
The highest power level
You're like, and it just like slams this thing down because of the like downward thrust it produces.
Yeah, power level 5 blends so fast. I tried to use it to make whipped cream one time, and it basically made everything in the
you just made
in it
butter,
into butter
and water.
And it was cream, and I was like, "Oh no, I've made a mistake."
I've gone too far. Just sprinkle some salt on it, smack it around with a wooden paddle, wrap it in wax paper, and put it in the fridge. However the fuck you make butter.
So anyway, in the northern hemisphere,
Next constellation.
you can see Coma Berenices, and I had never heard of this constellation before, and had a really fun time reading up on who Queen Berenice is. This constellation is named after Queen Berenice II of Egypt, who was worshipped in her time. She was known to protect against shipwrecks, and was an absolute girl boss. I know girl boss is like out of style now, but y'all, you gotta learn about
now.
Yes.
Youths.
She was actually worshipped similar to Aphrodite, Isis, and Demeter. Queen Berenice won a chariot race, rallied her father's troops, and helped win the battle. She also used her hair as an offering to the gods, so her husband would return safely from a completely separate war.
Nice.
He did.
Nice.
Among other things.
Like
super
G.I. Jane
fascinating.
style, where she's just like
unclear.
Not like knife shaving in the mirror of a car or something.
Honestly, she was
Probably.
such a badass that might have
piece
happened.
of like a polished shield or something.
Yeah, right? Like they just time traveled a car back so she could do that.
Yeah.
Very,
That's rad.
very Furiosa vibes.
Yeah, that's rad.
So that's one that you can use if you're looking for those kind of that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also Apus, which is or Bird of Paradise constellation, which you can see in the southern hemisphere, and the bird, not the flower, symbolizes wealth, community, and was also known to protect warriors and to increase female fertility.
Yeah. The flower that just represents lies.
No. No, it does not.
They also don't look like the bird, which is just a glorious...
Literally at all.
Yeah.
Also, we had a plant of those growing in the house I grew up in.
Yeah.
And they have like, they don't really do pollen. They have like a sap, like a sticky sap that
like
comes
gross.
out of the
Yeah, they're
flowers.
like gross
It's
flowers, bro.
Super gross. They're
Yeah,
very
they're
pretty to look at from
but
far away.
over there.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't get near it.
Yeah, no, they're gross flowers. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like getting super glue on you. It's gross. Anyway, there's also Vulpecula, the little fox, which can be seen in the northern hemisphere. And foxes symbolize adaptability, cunning, shapeshifting, observation, and fairies. There is Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the bears, in the northern hemisphere. And the bears symbolize strength, wisdom, abundance, rest, protection, and family. Also in the northern hemisphere, we have Orion, who is named after a Greek mythological figure who was a super badass hunter. It's actually one of the oldest myths written down by the Greeks, and he can hunt any animal in existence, even while blinded.
But can he hunt the most dangerous animal? Man.
He did.
That's
sort of. Yeah.
Oh,
he has some cool aspects of his mythology and lore, and he has some not so great ones. So definitely check into that if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite constellations to look for in the night sky because it is so visible from where we are, and it's basically visible all year round.
Yeah.
And pretty much anywhere you are where we live, you can see it. So it's an easy one for us to pick out. And in the Norse tradition, Orion's belt was sometimes known as Frigg's distaff.
Yeah.
Which is a tool that's used for weaving.
Yeah.
And also sometimes known as Freya's girdle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
And in both hemispheres, you can view the Hercules constellation. And Hercules was a very strong boy.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to channel any of that energy, I don't need to tell you about Disney's Hercules.
Pretty good Disney movie. Not so good Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie.
Oh, that is correct. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other Hercules movies. Did Arnie do a Hercules movie?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
Oh, wait, no. I
don't
think
think
he
he
did.
Did Momoa do a Hercules movie? I think he also did a bad Hercules. No, he did a different one.
He did a Conan movie.
He did the Conan movie.
No, I think Arnie did do a
I'm gonna be real with
Hercules
you,
movie.
bro. Conan, it's just Hercules but by another name. Right?
That's true. That's true.
Like, let's be totally 100%
He's
no on
just
that.
fictional Hercules?
Yeah, well, it's just like, we want to do Hercules, but, like, I don't care to do history. It's like Hercules, but you didn't want to study the history, and you wanted to give that one dude, like, that weird, like, spear thing. You know? Or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, he was Hercules, Arnie.
In what year?
Okay, 1970. He was Hercules in a movie called Hercules in New York. This was not the movie I was thinking it was.
No, okay, so she's wrong. Don't worry about that.
So
Ignore that.
I was
Next
right. He technically
thing.
was Hercules. Anyway, so yeah. And Hercules is visible in both hemispheres because of the precession of the Earth around and the tilt and all the science stuff. So not always seen by all places, but you can see it sometimes. And then last on my list of constellation tours is Corona Borealis, aka Cair Arianrhod, which is in the Welsh tradition and can be seen in the northern hemisphere. And Arianrhod was goddess of the moon, the stars, beauty, and the sea.
Yeah. And so if this is what I'm going to recommend, if you're trying to do like constellation stuff and you want to find these constellations, it's like just get a constellation app for your phone. This is going to be way easier than anything else. Get one of them apps that's got pass through, so that way you can just hold your phone up and be like looking around, and it's going to highlight like which
I use one.
Yeah, so do I. I think I have
called,
the same one that Dad uses.
I use one that's called Planets, and it's just like Saturn on a blue background, and I really like it. And it allows you to like move your phone around so that you can see what is where, and it tells you like, oh, here's a planet, and these are the times that this planet is visible, whether they're visible to the naked eye or not. It'll point them out for you.
Yeah, I don't know which one I use, and I am organized to the point of not knowing where I put it.
Ha! I also am organized. I knew where it was.
Yeah, I don't use it nearly as often.
Yeah. So definitely check something like that out. This is a great time to be alive in that you can use your phone to do it rather than trying to look at a star map and figuring it out from there. But if that's your vibe, go for it. I remember I used to have like a little small book that was the constellations, and you could like flip through them and see them, and there was like a little map. It was almost impossible to figure it out, but I definitely tried my best. It is a complex thing to try and lay out. So now that we know about the constellations, have some ideas, there are some other ways that you can use stars or constellations. So did you find it?
Skyview. That's the one that I use.
Nice.
Because Skyview lets you so it passes through your camera.
Yeah.
So you can like align it or whatever, and it gives you it highlights each constellation and the stars and their like exact
AR.
Position. Yeah, it's like AR. So it's like the Virgo is like right that direction there.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's the one I think that's the one that Dad was like, you should get this. It's really dope.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, that one, it's nice that it has pass through, because then you can like if part of the constellation falls behind a tree or whatever, you can still see the whole constellation.
Yeah.
And when you like mouse over it. when you like go over the constellation, it shows the like picture form.
Oh, that's cool.
On top of
so
the
you're not like
constellation.
trying to guess.
Yeah,
because
you're like,
I've
oh, what are
always-
these 5 dots? And they're like, oh, that's 3 ducks. You're like, oh,
Sure.
I wouldn't get that, but okay, sure.
Yeah, right?
You know? Yeah, so no, that's a fun one. And I think it's free also. I'm
Cool.
almost certain I didn't pay for it.
Yeah. So other ways that you can use constellations in your magic or stars. First of all, there's wishing upon a star. Yes. Also, I know those are meteorites or meteors, depending on what happens to them at the very end.
Yeah.
But it's if you
or you
believe
can just
it
wish
works.
on like a blinky thing out there.
That's true.
Might be a
but if you
satellite.
believe it works, then it works. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's also meteor showers.
Technically also not constellations.
Yes, but they do come from an area that is sort of in the state of that constellation. And they are particularly during like certain times of year. Like we are about ready for, I think the Orionids or the Pleiades. I don't remember exactly which one, but like in 2 weeks, it's
every
is
time
like
I
the
see
most,
a tweet about it, I'm just like, yes, that's so true.
Yeah,
no
it's
fucking
like
clue.
the most prolific one of the year, right? So if you're looking to do something like that, basically you can use the energy of that constellation if you don't have something else that you're going to be planning to use. You know, so if it's the Orionids, get some, I don't know, hunting in or something.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. I
Yeah.
trust you. You're smart. You're listening
got
to
this,
us,
dog.
obviously.
Yeah.
You can also make star water by leaving your liquid out underneath the stars. Yes, I know the moon might be there. And if you're particularly a Puritan about it, that's fine.
Yeah.
And you can just leave your liquid out during a night where it is a new moon.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the light of the moon getting involved in there either. Or you can have it in there.
Mooning
Doesn't
up
matter to
that
us.
water.
Yeah. You can also do star water for specific constellations. Obviously, it's pretty difficult to be able to shield the water from the other stars in the sky.
But don't shield it. Just enhance that specific constellation. Like
Exactly.
you could get like a paint pen and paint on the outside of your vessel.
Yeah.
The constellation. Or you could like do a drawing of the constellation and then put the cup or vessel on top of that drawing. Right? Be creative. Don't be limited by the idea that you need to shield your Orion water from Ursa Major or something.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
You know, like
it would be Scorpio, but I'll give it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where any of this shit is. I don't know, man.
Or you can just imagine and sort of like visualize the light from that constellation coming down and reaching the water.
If you can poke a series of holes in a piece of whatever shielding, so only those stars, and then set up your vessel in such a way that it tracks that constellation through the sky on some sort of moving tripod, rock and roll. You're doing way too much science to make that water, but I appreciate that
Big
level
respect.
of hyper focus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. You can also use energy from individual stars for certain things. Like, for instance, you can use Polaris or the North Star for guidance, or Sirius, also known as the Dog Star, for loyalty, and a ton of other stars.
Sure.
You can make them up. So, for instance, going back to Orion, one of the stars in Orion's belt is Betelgeuse. So have fun with that.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just do that thrice.
Enjoy that one. Yeah.
Totally.
Whatever
totally,
you're going to do there. It's a red dwarf star, so you can employ color magic
Well,
too.
and to that end, like if you
Oh, that's not a red dwarf. I'm sorry. That's a red giant.
yeah. If you're like, I want to do this like constellations cosmology thing, but like I've always thought of Orion as being, I don't know, whatever, Xena. Then like
Works
do
for me.
yeah, like make your own constellations, bro.
Yeah, Lucy Lawless.
Let's be perfectly
Get
real.
it, girl.
They're all made up anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Does that all the way back in human history, did that constellation look like a microscope? Not literally at all, my dude. I cannot stress enough, some Greek dude in a toga was not like, man, that really looks like a very specific scientific instrument for looking close up at shit, but like, I don't really get it.
That
yet.
like they'll invent in
Like,
3,000 years.
Yeah,
No.
fake news, right? Like totally not at all.
No.
So yeah, like if you want your constellation to be something special, like you do you, dude.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
You can also use the stars from a specific constellation as a sigil, and you can put that on things.
Yeah.
So that's a fun way
Looking
for
at
you to do
you,
it.
tattoo constellations.
Yep.
Right?
You can arrange candles or rocks or other objects in the shape of the constellation to harness its power. This is particularly cool when you get into like electric candles and you're putting it on your altar.
Yeah, totally. Or like little bits of like rock, like if your constellation is made up of like, let's say 3 or 4 white stars and then like maybe 1 red star, or like a couple of yellow stars and maybe like a green or a blue star, whatever. You know, however your constellation looks from your like objective observation point, then you could arrange a series of colored rocks in that order on your altar, so that way you're not having to like, I gotta find it, you know, it's the middle of June and there's too many clouds in the sky, I can't see it. You can like focus on the thing on the altar and still like get that juice, you know?
Yeah, get that juice.
Get that juice, yeah.
Yeah. You can also use stars or constellations to power your spells entirely, using the energy from the stars. That energy is like a constant sort of recharging energy, but also a gentle one. Whereas if you think about like the moon's energy would be, you know,
Tidal.
Would be tidal, yeah. So stronger and weaker and stronger and weaker, and the sun's would be constant, but also not gentle.
Yeah, it's gonna bake you.
It's gonna bake you.
It's gonna bake you.
So that is definitely a good way to do sort of a long-term spell where you don't necessarily want like a big boost of results. Where you want something a little bit less intense.
They're backgroundy.
Yeah.
Totally, for sure, for sure.
You can meditate on the meaning of specific constellations, an aspect of them, or of the mythos surrounding them, or just meditate while looking at the constellations. Remember, not all meditation needs to be sitting cross-legged on the floor with your hands just so, and trying to clear your mind and making a
just stare at the stars.
Sound.
The sun, don't look at that shit.
Don't look at that.
But the moon and stars, I don't know if you know this or not, tiny suns.
Yeah, tiny
well,
suns.
actually huge suns, but they're like
but
way
they're
fucking far away.
So
dog.
far away that it's okay to look at. Do not look at the actual sun.
Yeah, don't look at the sun. But stars that are not our sun, specifically, you can look at those. And technically, you're looking backwards in time. So what's up? Revel in your god power, bro.
Yeah.
You're seeing backwards in time.
Yeah. You can also learn more about astrology. That is definitely another way to be able to use constellations and their magic. Again, shameless plug, astrology episode.
Yeah. Or cosmology, just regular science.
Yeah.
Nothing woo-woo about it, but...
That's not really science. You mean astronomy?
Or a cosmology, the study of the cosmos?
No.
Yes.
Cosmology is usually referred to
Cosmetology?
as...
The study of face stars?
Cosmology is usually referred to as like the religious significance or mythological significance of how like the cosmos was created. So you could also do that, or astronomy. Yeah.
Not the TV show, though.
In the Renaissance, they were really big on using stars and asteroids in magic. Basically, they got a telescope and they were like, let's go! So you can use the Renaissance meaning of fixed stars in your magic. So fixed stars are kind of like the North Star or Sirius. So you could use the star Vega for protection, or Cassiopeia for health, and a lot of those have talismans associated with them. And to piggyback on that one, you can read the Picatrix, which is a grimoire written around 1000 AD, and it relies heavily on astrological magic, as well as astronomical magic. So you will find more information about these fixed stars and talismans and spells, and also astrology and all kinds of bits and bobs there. It's a lot. It's very cool though. And you can find it on the Internet Archive. Not sponsored, just a big fan. And you can find links to that, as well as a lot of the sources that I used in the description below on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening on a podcast network.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Have you ever used star magic?
Not really.
Did you ever do the wish upon a star thing?
No.
When you were a kid? No, really?
No.
Oh.
But also, like, that's like a relatively small chunk of rock falling towards you. I was one of those kids.
Yeah.
I'm a science kid.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh my god, it's a shooting star. I'm like, small bit of rock, but like rock and roll, dude.
I definitely did the wish upon a star thing. I didn't think it was actually a star crashing down. I knew.
Crashing. I don't know about that, but making a noise up in there with light.
Yeah, I knew that that's what it was. I was not like, oh no, Polaris is coming for me.
We're all gonna die.
Beetlejuice is on his way. But like, I definitely did the wish upon a star thing. Hell, I still do that.
Oh.
Also, I always hold my breath when I do it, and I don't know that that's a thing that you're supposed to do necessarily, but it's just a thing that I find myself doing.
Sure. Yeah, I hold my breath through the rainbow tunnel on my way to San Francisco.
I hold my breath in every tunnel,
single time.
Every time.
Oh no! I've been to some tunnels that are like too long for a human to hold their breath and not die.
I have definitely been through tunnels that are like a little too long, and I'm like, oh man.
Like,
and then I have to remind myself it's not a requirement to hold your breath in a tunnel.
When you're trying to gaslight yourself, you're like, if I breathe real slow, maybe the tunnel won't know. You know? Those thoughts. Those totally sane human thoughts that you can have. Yeah,
totally normal thoughts.
Yeah, totally.
Like, sometimes I'm in a car with somebody and I don't know if they, or like on a bus or whatever, you know, like when I was in school, like, I don't know if they subscribe to the hold your breath in a tunnel thing, and we'll be like having a conversation.
Well, but like, are you just like not, are you just like holding your breath so the tunnel doesn't eat you or something? Or are you holding your breath to make, you know, whatever,
prove to the tunnel your boss?
Yeah, you're just like, what's up? I don't even need your fucking tunnel air, bro. No, are you like, is it like, I always do it as like a, sort of like a wish upon a star thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's like benevolent offering of suffocation to the tunnel.
Yeah, it is like that, yes. It is like, please tunnel, do not collapse.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna hold my breath. Maybe you make this work out. You know, so like,
but it's also a little bit of a personal challenge, right? I recognize it doesn't really do much.
Oh no, it changes
unless it does. In which case, remember, I hold my breath in every tunnel, and I always have, and I always will. Yeah. But like, I'll be in a car with somebody and like not know if they do the hold your breath in a tunnel thing, and I'm just like, oh no, the tunnel's coming up. This conversation needs to lull so I can hold my breath. Or I try to challenge myself by holding my breath while talking.
Oh yeah, where you're only breathing out the entire time and you're not breathing in, and you just hope that it's not too much.
Getting that one on a technicality.
Yeah. Legally holding your breath. Yeah, completely. I'm 100% with it on the tunnel thing. Yeah. No, I don't really use like stars or constellations necessarily in any sort of a practice.
I do reference astrology stuff like often for obvious reasons, and if you're here, you're like, obviously, duh.
Yeah. So often.
But I talk about it a lot. It's fascinating. Yeah. I really enjoy it. But like, I hadn't really thought until we were doing the research for this episode about doing it for constellations that were not associated with astrology. Like, I'm not necessarily looking up at like the night sky and looking at like the Taurus constellation and being like, yes, give me that Taurus energy. But like, the thought hadn't occurred to me to harness the power of other constellations in the way that we harness the power of those of the zodiac.
Sure.
Until researching for this episode. When I was researching for this, I looked up I came across, you know, the fixed stars and the Renaissance thing and the Picatrix, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I like constellations, and like, I've done like star watching and like star photography and like that kind of stuff, and like I enjoy that sort of stuff from like a scientific standpoint, but I don't really do any of that from like a magical standpoint in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, like, I don't know, it's not really my thing. That being said, like, when we redo the roof and I paint the roof, the ceiling, whatever, the inside part, like, I'm gonna paint constellations on the ceiling, and I have always been like, we're putting glow-in-the-dark stars on the roof.
Oh
Like,
my
as
gosh,
a kid, I was
yes.
glow-in-the-dark stars on the roof all the time. We had I don't remember at what age, but in one of the, at some point in time, we had the bedroom my brother and I shared had like a single light sconce in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
Sort of bedroom. And so we did all the glow-in-the-dark stars in sort of like a galaxy around the light sconce.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
have done both the sticky, tacky, like glue-on glow-in-the-dark stars that are made out of plastic, which work really well, as well as just like straight fucking glow-in-the-dark paint.
Stickers.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, paint too.
No,
yeah.
ours were like not stickers. Ours were like
I had
thick,
like
dog.
thick
They were
plastic
like
ones.
they were like
yeah.
like the thickness of a fucking clipboard. Like
Yeah.
thick. And
Yeah.
like that kind of green, yellow tinted plastic that's probably gently radioactive. You know, that like 90s unsafe shit? Like that shit where like if you looked at it a little crosswise, that was enough light reflecting off the surface of your eyeball that shit's gonna glow for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like those, dude. Those fucked.
My first real apartment when I moved out, we like bought a bunch of those packs from the Spencers in the mall.
Yeah.
And also like stickers and stuck them all over the bedroom ceiling. Not in any particular like order or constellations or anything like that. They were just everywhere.
Yeah.
And I lived in that apartment for like 9 years or something like that. And I never put up new stars. And for the most part, they stayed up there. But like sometimes they would fall off. Sometimes you would be asleep and a star would fall on you.
Oh my goodness. No.
I would always pick them back up.
I hear far too cleanly. Even when I'm unconscious, there's no way that I would accept that noise at all. Like, I mean, I listen to noise while I'm asleep, but like, yeah, I would just.
Could I have done it? I would have left them up for the people that were living there after
like
me
next
as like a little fun, like, ooh, like thing. But, you know, they were like very obviously there and I wanted my cleaning deposit back. So. Not that I got it back, but I wanted to try.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, who gets their cleaning deposit back really now?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I've never really done...
like I would get like a constellation tattoo, like that's dope.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Like absolutely. I mean, I already have the planets, so
yeah.
Like whatever.
Constellation is next, and you've got a lot of real
I've
estate
got more
on
than
that
enough
arm.
space for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fat guy. But no, yeah, I don't know. I don't really use constellations for that sort of stuff. Although, like, I know of using constellations for that sort of stuff. I just genuinely enjoy like watching and painting and drawing stars and constellations and things like that. Like, I use stars in a lot of my artwork. And I obviously submitted like a painting of a nebula to the fair or whatever. So like, yeah, like I'm sort of like a space nerd. So I don't know, it just never really trickles into the like woo side, you know? Yeah. But yeah, dude. Constellations are dope, man.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be seeing how I can incorporate that into my practice going forward. Particularly once I figure out like specifically what constellations are usually over the house. That's going to be
which ones aren't over the house, but like are like you vibe with, so you can just use them as like constellations on your altar. Yeah. Because you got to think, like, if you're in the northern hemisphere, but like you're real into a southern hemisphere constellation, then like use some stones on your altar to like look at, or whatever bits. Yeah. To like look like that constellation, and then, you know, bing bang boom, you're good to go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like totally. And there's also stuff, there's like the North Star, and I love all that, like, what is it in Japan? It's like the summer triangle. Yeah. Or whatever. Like that, yeah. And like I genuinely love all that stuff, you know? It's just not something that I've ever like actively applied to my practice. I mean, but hell, like 5 years ago I never used tarot ever. And now I have
look at you.
Too many. How many tarot decks? Too many tarot decks.
You have more than I do now.
Yes, that's true. And more on the way.
Yeah.
Always more on the way. Some of them are tarot decks. Like 3 of them aren't. I love fantasy tarot decks. I have a Dungeons and Dragons one now. I have a Star Trek one. I've got a Cthulhu one. Yeah. So, Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I think that's constellations.
That is
I
Constellation.
think that's constellations. So I think that's constellations. So before we wrap all this up, I want to shout out to our patrons, Alan, Miranda, Alexa, Somewhere, Panda, and Alexis. Thank you guys very much. If you would like to join our Patreon, there will be links in the whatever. That's where we do like Book of Shadows pages, and we have a monthly hangout, and like we talk about books we've read, and like, you know, just like whatever. We talk about a little bit of everything. So you can always check that stuff out. And yeah, our patrons help us out and hang out with us, and they're the best people. So,
yeah, thank you for helping us.
Yeah, you guys are the best.
Do what we do, but better every time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And for those of you that are not our patrons, thanks for listening.
Yeah, you're cool too.
Yes, you are.
You are cool. Yeah, that sounded way more dramatic than I necessarily intended it to, but that's fine. Whatever.
I was over here trying to make it all heartwarming, and you're like, yeah.
Ugh, whatever, I guess. Got a little sass on me, I guess. Whatever, man. It's because I'm out of. It's because I'm out.
You got a lot of.
It's because I'm out of margarita. I'm full of margarita-less rage.
Yeah, you got an absence of margarita.
That's true. But yeah, whatever. Either way, I've been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast, and we will catch you guys next time for more of whatever this is. And you know, whatever. Do the things that you're supposed to do. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever the heck, and tell us what your favorite constellation is.
Yeah.
So
which one is yours?
Probably Orion's belt.
Oh, yeah.
The whole Orion and the belt, but like mostly the belt.
The Pleiades is my favorite. It's like a little tiny dipper.
Yeah. I do like the dippers, though.
Yeah, I like the dipper also.
Yeah. Right? It's like a ladle.
It is like a ladle, and it like pours out at the end, you know, during the rainy season where we are.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's like gloop, 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 gloop.
Sure.
Throughout the year. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget, breathe in self-confidence, breathe out self-doubt.